Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix Cinema, the podcast that this week has four, count them, four correspondents who have all finally watched the film of the last 12 months for us because we've spoken about it more than any other film, and that film is Persuasion. My name is Tosin. I am the host. I am based up in a place called Bromsgrove, which is in the Midlands, outside Birmingham, between Birmingham and Worcester. And joining me as usual on the Isle of Wight are Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
Shaun Harris.
Hello there.
And from London is Holly Nesline. We have pulled her away from all of the culture stuff, from being a culture vulture, from going to theaters, from going out and having wine tastings, and she's decided to come sit down for us and prattle on about films for an hour. Hello, Holly. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Yes. So before we get onto the point where we sort of start talking about films and stuff, and Sharon, I think that is some misery coming to join you in truckloads with your stuff about Persuasion. If anybody wonders what we're talking about Persuasion, go onto our YouTube channel, Netflix vs. Cinema, and just search Persuasion for the videos we talk about, and you would see one of our most viewed video of last year. You see Sharon's pain. You can see Sharon's pain. Read the comments and see all the people who join in Sharon's pain. But before we get on there, we have some feedback. Which we like doing. We like whenever people get in touch with us, we are like, oh, be our friend, and we will. That might actually what we just call this section. We just call this section "Be Our Friend," and here we have Taiwo. Well, yeah, please.
You remember Taiwo?
Yes, Taiwo, my cousin, who's actually been on the show. He's been a guest reviewer. One of these times when Shaun went off and Shaun decided to go do mysterious things in Thailand. I was thinking about this earlier this week, right, Shaun? And I have a theory that if we go to certain remote areas of Thailand, and we speak about somebody and we show you a picture, they'll probably go, oh, it's the white ferret. Or something like that. I bet you that there's some legendary stuff that you've done in all these places around Thailand. So when Shaun was on one of his mysterious man of mystery things in Thailand, Taiwo actually came on the show. So he go back and he says, finally I've been catching up with the podcast. In brackets, a lot of commuting this month. So essentially, we are his first choice, or one of his first choices when he's commuting anywhere. He listens to us. And he says, and I could not agree more with your take on Abbott Elementary, a really good office comedy. And this is nice. I actually get somebody agreeing with one of my reviews.
Oh, good, yeah.
I was also fully on board when you mentioned Moesha's mum, and it says dying her again. I think he meant seeing her again, and autocorrect has done something to him. So I'm going to say mention Moesha's mum and seeing her again. Until you put me in your age bracket, he is younger than me, and I did a double take and some quick maths. So he realized, yes, he is that old. It's also great to see Shaun and Sharon's real colors. As Shaun cries listening to Whitney Houston, and Sharon is completely unmoved. And in brackets, it was, as much as he's played as a grump, Shaun really is a big softie. And it's like, for instance, see for reference, Tony Stark's daughter saying, "I love you 3000." Yeah. And last but not least, well done finally starting to watch Persuasion. In brackets, I was tempted to get Claudia's my wife, I was tempted to get Claudia involved as a secret agent to force you into watching it. And then he ends up by saying, sorry for the mammoth text.
Oh, we like mammoth text. Thank you. Taiwo.
So yeah, that is time. We'll get back in touch with us. Thank you very much. And there is one other bit of feedback before we are going to kick off. And we're going to, as he mentions, I have now seen Persuasion. We've all seen Persuasion, and Sharon wanted us to report back, and we will start off by reporting back up for Persuasion because we just can't escape this film. we keep talking
and we want to just bury it. We've all seen it. Let's just bury it now.
We've all seen it. Let's just go now. Let's just go and let's just forget about it.
Well, we had to keep our word, didn't we? We had to keep our word.
We had to keep our word, even though we had to be chased, and even though it came years after the fact. We had to keep our word. So we saw Persuasion, but also we had some feedback from my brother, who is a big fan of The Witcher. So guess what he started watching on Netflix? Guess what? Guess what? He started watching
The Origin one.
Oh,
Yes, and he started watching it, and he just sent a message. He just sent a message saying, "Currently watching the worst Netflix series I have ever seen, Blood Origins Witcher. It's nothing like The Witcher. It is SH*T avoid." And then I sent him a link to our YouTube review saying, "Why don't you ever ask me about these things? I could have told you because Sharon, because Sharon and Holly had seen the Richard Blood
we saw
Origin."
it.
And he says, "Lol, wish I did. Been thinking about it since I watched it. If I've ever seen a worse series, haven't thought of one yet." And then he watches the review that you and Holly did, and he says, "I don't agree with Sharon and Holly. It was 1 star or maybe less. It was it was terrible. Can't believe she had the staying power to watch it a second time." That's directed at you, Holly.
That's Holly. Yeah,
I
well,
can watch anything more than once. It's a skill or a curse. I'm never sure.
Oh, all right, guys. So that's just somebody saying that you guys were way too fine. We're way too kind. So, okay, we get onto the main event, we get onto the big thing, and we will talk about new films. We will talk about new films, the films that are promised in the title of this episode. If you're listening to it audio-wise, we will get to talking about those. But first, we need to deal with the cat out of the bag that is Persuasion. So, yes, I have finished watching Persuasion. I finished watching it earlier today. And, okay, I have to say, I'm somebody who has not read the book Persuasion. So one of the things that held me up from watching this for a while was because I was like, a lot of what Sharon was talking about was Sharon was comparing the book and saying they've taken something that was great and made it rubbish. And that was a lot of the source of your ire, would you say, Sharon?
Absolutely. That was the principle. That was like, of my top 5 grudges against Persuasion, that was number 1 grudge.
And Sharon is not joking. She does have a list of grudges. She does have a list of grudges about this film, and so I hadn't read the book, and so I was thinking, well, if I haven't read the book, am I really going to get the thing? I'm going to get why this film is such a crime against humanity, and so I started watching it, and I don't think I have the full extent of how much of a crime this film is, but I did have notes that I just put down. First and foremost, I just went, the voiceover is ill-fitting because they have this whole thing where obviously they keep breaking the fourth wall. I mean, you referred to it as the Fleabagification of Jane Austen, and where she keeps breaking the fourth wall, she keeps talking to the camera, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and it carries on throughout the whole film, and it is grating, and it is so much, and it is overdone, and it set my teeth on edge. Like whenever there's this whole thing where they okay, in storytelling they say show, don't tell. This film is all tell. There is no point at which they go figure it out yourself. No, something happens and she has to do an aside to the camera, or she has to do like a side eye to the camera, or she has to go, so blah 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 blah, and start saying all this stuff and all this exposition. And they keep telling you things like, oh yeah, Anne is just such a great character, there's nobody like Anne. And the only evidence you have for Anne being all these things that she's meant, that they mention, is that they tell you. You never see her do anything. I was about an hour into this film, and I realized I didn't know anything. I did not know anything about any of these characters. I mean, the film ended, and quite frankly, at the end of the film, you know nothing about any of these characters that you did not know at the beginning. And I just realized that it was scene after scene after scene, and I was about an hour in when I had to take a break. And scene after scene after, and the scenes were pointless because the scenes didn't tell you anything. You actually thought at the end of that scene, what did that scene do? Nothing. Did I move along the story? No. Okay, now we're going to Bath. Why? Well, we're off to Lyme. No. And this, I think, is probably the biggest crime. As this would have worried me even if I didn't know it was a Jane Austen adaptation. But knowing that it's a Jane Austen adaptation, there is no wit whatsoever, and there is the dialogue is terrible. It isn't smart. There's no good observation. The people talk is just kind of like meh, and I mean, essentially, I think there were 3 lines. There were 3 lines that I thought, ooh, that's kind of clever. And I was like, that must have been taken directly from the book. And everything else was somebody else writing stuff, trying to think, oh, I bet I can modernize this. And it just doesn't work. The clothing, there's some clothes that they wear in this film that you could walk into an office building with now, and it wouldn't look out of place. and oh, good Lord. But although I would say, I'll say things that I liked. I liked the colors.
That's a short list.
Yeah, I like it. It is actually a short list. I like the colors, and I thought that Dakota Johnson's accent was good. But I like the colors, but it felt like somebody had watched the personal history of David Copperfield, copied some of the ideas as to like decor and stuff like that from that. But apart from that, it was just kind of like, and I watched a lot of this, and the film is slow. The film is slow. It is so slow. I'll tell you how slow it is. I watched a lot of this film on Netflix on an iPad on 1.5 times speed. And I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I didn't feel, the only time when I watched it at 1.5, because just when you watch at 1.5 times speed, you kind of go, oh, people look like they're moving around weird or anything. There was one scene where somebody finished playing the piano and they get up and starts clapping, and the clapping looked a bit quick, and that was about it. The rest of the film, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And I was like, wait, I watched this at 1.5 times speed. Why am I not noticing? The original film must be so slow paced. It must be so slow paced. But that is, yeah, Shaun, you go.
Are you sure? Yeah, you sure? You summed it up pretty convincingly there. Okay, I had to do this. I had to do this in 2 sittings. I had to do this. I got to the beach scene. I got to the beach. First of all, right,
that's where I stopped as well.
Oh, right.
That's where I stopped as well.
So this is how it went. So I started to watch it, and I thought, well, it's interesting. I'll give this a bit of a chance, see where it's going to go, because I like the old dad and all that. And I thought, oh, this might be
Richard E. Grant, yeah.
BBC-ish, like nothing like BBC Pride and Prejudice. And as I say, I don't know the book. I've never read the book or whatever, so I don't know. And I thought, oh, this is quite interesting. And then it just seemed to get on my nerves a little bit. And I thought, this is right. And the bloke, when they get to that beach scene, what a wimp. I want to be friends, And it's like, ugh. And I think that's when I texted everybody and said, I'm trying to watch this, Sharon, but it's just not, it's just I'm going to have to take a break because... And
in some ways, the beach scene is not that offensive to me because it's not in the book at all. It's completely made up.
Right,
that whole scene is a complete...
So you don't mind?
Yeah, so that bit, I always think, is probably the least offensive because it's a complete fabrication.
Okay, the bloke comes across like a real wimp.
No,
how could you like someone like that? No.
I think now, Sharon, I think, okay, so it's funny that you say that because I find that with that beach scene probably one of the most offensive.
Yeah.
And part of that is because, and I think because obviously you said it's not based in the book whatsoever.
It's funny
dialogue, we both stopped at that scene.
Stopped at that scene.
We just went, sorry, need a break. And I think the dialogue in that scene is risible.
It's dire.
It's bad.
Absolutely.
It's bad.
It is so bad.
And the fact, and then they try and sort of like do it by her looking at the camera, and then I think it ends up with going, oh, now we're worse than like ex-lovers. We're friends, and I'm just kind of like,
oh yeah, no,
you didn't need to say that. It felt like tweet speak. It felt like it was
all the way through.
And I know, but the thing is that there's this mix where there's some bits where they go into stuff that I think is Austen, and there's bits where they go into stuff that is more modern, and the mix doesn't work. It just does not work. It's the kind of film where you can almost see what they were trying to do, but they fail. they fail in doing it like badly. Sorry, Shaun, I interrupted you from.
No, it's cool. Toes, you carry on. I pretty much said it all anyway, but yeah, so I stopped at that scene and I was like, well, I've got to see the rest. I have to see the rest because I gave my word. I've got to struggle and see the rest. But, yeah, the whole thing was a real struggle. And you're exactly right. You know nothing more about these characters. It's all superficial. A nice bit of scenery, but on the whole, it was. Yeah. I have to say that it was a sort of nothing awful. Didn't seem to have anything to it, at all.
Yeah, it was a real case of finishing and going, oh my god, that's an hour 45 minutes I'm not getting back.
I actually can't remember most of it.
You can't remember. That's the point.
Completely, yeah.
In my mind, the only bit that I remember is the bottle of wine at the start, and the never rabbit. And I'm still sure that the rabbits are a double entendre.
I think, yeah, but I think Richard E. Grant is. He's the best thing.
Well, that is like Richard E. Grant because one of my notes just says Richard E. Grant, and I can't decide whether that was a good or a bad thing.
It was a good. I think he was he was. I think he was.
He was kind of like on withnail form.
Yeah, he was.
He
on
probably
withnail form.
understood the character of.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It's Sir William, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just sort of like totally up himself. Totally up.
Kellynch Hall, yeah. So I think he probably understands that character the best. Whereas the others are it's just awful. I mean, I will never forgive them for making Anne Elliot wee behind a tree.
Oh, that was
I will
it.
never forgive them.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you, this film felt like, because I remember I have directed Shakespeare adaptations before, like done Shakespeare on play on stage before. And when you're doing Shakespeare, well, with me anyway, I'm always trying to figure out a way of making this stuff make sense to people who are watching it who don't understand the language. So trying to figure out ways of staging it, of get people to do stuff or things that they can relate to, and some of them I have to admit were bad ideas. So I've watched them back and I've gone, that didn't work. And this film felt like they were going through the whole thing, thinking, okay, how can we update Jane Austen and make it more relatable to it? But it just felt like a whole bunch of first base ideas that did not actually serve the story. For me, the big problem is, well, as I said, the big thing is like, you finish the film, you've learned nothing new, but then nothing is shown that makes you understand why any of these people is desirable. This film is just filled with terrible characters, like her sister, who doesn't know where her kids are half the time, and at the beginning, essentially, I was watching this thing going, okay, there is nothing to this Anne Elliot person, and I find it so hard to believe, so hard to accept that Jane Austen would have written a character that would have been nothing.
Actually wallowing in self-pity. That's not Anne.
It's just so one note. It's so one note, and I think at that point we'll. But I want to finish this off.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I think Holly wanted to say something, and I rudely interrupted her earlier on about. She wanted to say something, and I just felt I sort of jumped in. So I don't know if you've got anything to say, Holly. No,
I doubt it's anything particularly profound because I say I don't really remember it. So
okay.
I feel like I'm the fortunate one here in this.
Don't worry. We probably, Shaun and I, we finished it now, and probably in about a week's time we'll be like, what do you mean Persuasion? I'll tell you what happened in a week's time. We'll be like, oh yeah, Persuasion. We should watch that, and
we should revisit. Yeah, we should
and then
revisit
we'll start watching it again because we forgot when we watched it. Okay, so but I like to finish off on a bit of the two lines that I was like, ooh. Those lines actually stood out. That I need to write those down. I need to note them. And one of them was when somebody talks about their cousin, and they talk about his relentless attack on your family. And they say like, oh, that must really, really put you off, Anne. And she says, actually, so far, that's his most willing quality. And I was like, that's actually a witty line. That's actually a witty line. I wasn't sure what it was from the book. And another bit where one of her sisters says, I'm never quite sure if you're insulting me or not, but I value your regard so little that I don't mind either way. And I thought, not in the book.
No, neither of those are book lines.
Okay, but those are the lines I actually thought, you know what? That's actually kind of witty. That's actually kind of, it's good. But apart from that, I don't think there was anything well observed in this film. And on that note, let's put Persuasion to bed. We've watched it now. Hope you're happy, Internet. Taiwo, hope you're happy.
Bury it, please.
And let's move forward to films that we've seen this week, which hopefully were better to us than Persuasion. So we're going to start off in cinema, as is our way. We usually start off in cinema. And we're going to start off with Tar, which Shaun saw.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we've just spoken about Persuasion. Tar just been nominated for Oscars and everything like that, and everybody keeps raving about this film, mainly because of Cate Blanchett's performance. So Shaun, tell us about Tar.
Okay, so Tar. So this is the story of first female conductor of the Berlin, symphonic orchestra, and obviously it starts off. There must be so many references to classical music. This would be any classical musos would absolutely adore this film, I would think, because there's a lot of. I mean, I'm aware of some of the composers, but anyway, and she goes and she teaches this class in Juilliard. And she's discussing about why would you like this. Anyway, so there's that bit, and she's got she has a relationship. So she's got a wife, and she's got an ex-lover who's like a PA. And she had, which you only see through dreams, really. You see that she had a relationship with one of her students. You never actually see that relationship. It's just through, she has like disturbed dreams and things. So you just assume. So she's basically gay. She's a lesbian. And it turns out that this girl, she commits suicide. So there's all this sort of, and then where she went to teach this class where she was quite horrible, some people have edited a video. So it's not the whole video. It just makes it look like she's a real bully and a real, not a very nice person, a bit of a predator, if you will, And So and it goes viral, and it's like, and then so it all comes across the board, and then the suicide thing comes up, and the people's parents, and she gets lots of flack, and obviously, that she's in front of the board in a few. She's got a pain, so she gets on the drugs and things, and there's a cellist, there's a young cellist that she wants to be involved. Well,
shall we?
She doesn't actually get involved, but her wife, who's the chief violinist, she's sort of, and the ex-lover who's the PA, they sort of notice this thing, so they get a bit funny with her. With her wife, she's got a daughter. It's all very, very convoluted and quite, the relationship.
It seems like everything I've heard about this is that this is really it rises and falls on Cate Blanchett because she plays Tar. I think it's Lydia Tar is the name of the character.
Lydia
and
Tar.
It's all a character study about her. It isn't really about so much like a plot as it is about this one. Character whenever they make films like this and they make a film who's like a conductor, it makes me think of things like Whiplash and the J.K. Simmons, like essentially this character that I think has to be a bit of an egotist to do what they do and has to be a bit of a monster. So a little bit of a monster. Yeah. So really it's about her. So I've heard a lot about the film being like 3 hours long. But first of all, did you feel the 3 hours?
Yes. Yes, I did.
A sigh there.
Yes, I did. Yes. I found it's quite funny because with Cate Blanchett, it started off really good. It was really intense, I thought. But there were times, and I mean, I might just be letting wrong, where I thought she was Cate Blanchett. There was times when it was really good, when she was like, not so much, the conducting part was like Cate Blanchett when she was conducting the orchestra. I thought, well, I can see Cate Blanchett there. Some of the other, like the relationships with the different things and the intensity was, I mean, it was she was a pretty good performance, but that's all it was about, really. And I'm sure if you were into, this would be like for people that are in the, I mean, I like classical music, but it's like, there's a lot, obviously, many references to classical music, and
So it's a bit like us where we're watching a film like Hail Caesar, and had all these references to classic movies, and we're like,
yeah.
You see what they did there? I see what they did there.
Because what she does, she rearranges pieces. She sort of, so she might take a, Bach, and she sort of alters it a little bit for the. So, and in this, I just reminded, this is one thing. This was there was a lot of driving an electric car through tunnels. I don't know if that's supposed to symbolize something, but there is a lot of that goes on, right? It's like real silent, and these look almost futuristic, like I guess it must be in Berlin or somewhere, but there's a lot of that. And that was much like, I don't know why they put this in films. It's like when we went to see She Said, Sharon. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of scenes.
A lot of driving.
And is that to pad it out? Because just go there, just say, right, get in the car, and then you could go there,
and then you're there. Yeah, but it's like, let's.
So I reckon the tunnels, because it was always seemed to be tunnels, I reckon that must have been symbolising something. But for the life of me, I couldn't figure that out. But I'm sure someone will.
Delving into yourself, delving into something.
Delving into something, getting a bit deeper, getting yourself in trouble, whatever. So I don't know. But
that's yourself underground.
Yeah.
From the second I heard about this film, the second I saw the trailer of this film, I was like, this is going to be, some people are going to think it's a 5 and some people are going to think it's a 1. And I just thought straight, I was like, it's going to be one of those sort of films. So what did you think?
The performances were quite good. I found it particularly long, but I didn't find it particularly like huffy puffy sort of thing. A little bit long, probably not too much annoying. So I would say this would, for me personally, it'd probably be a 3-star sort of effort. This film, 3-star. It wasn't like, I didn't think it was anything really special, and like you say, maybe the performance most of the time by Cate Blanchett is probably fairly good, but I really liked her wife, who was the chief violinist, and there's also the cellist who was part of the orchestra when the young girl comes, and she's like, because she says, there's the bit where she says, oh, we've got this, there's a piece of music where you need the cellist at the start of all like that, and she says, and they look at the chief cellist, and she's like really made up and all that, says, but we're going to have to do auditions, and you can just see the so the cattiness and the nastiness, and it's like, because everybody looks at the cellist and thinks, oh, this is a great piece for you, you've been in the orchestra for ages, but she wants this young girl to come in, so anyway, 3 stars.
3 stars, 3 stars for Tar, which is I think some people have already started giving Cate Blanchett that golden statue. But I think when I heard about this with Cate Blanchett and her performance and everything, it made me think a little bit of Blue Jasmine, the Woody Allen film in which she played.
Blue Jasmine's great. Blue Jasmine is absolutely. I think I raved about that one.
I think. Yeah, her performance is really good, but it was like a character that I did not like. I think Jasmine and Blue Jasmine, you want to punch her.
Yeah. I think pretty much you would in this one too, if I'm honest.
And everything I've heard about Lydia Tarr, I'm like, you want to punch this woman. You want to punch her in the face. But, all right, cool. So now we're going to go over to Netflix and Friends, and we're going to go to The Cook of Castamar, which, Sharon, you saw. So tell us about The Cook of Castamar.
Yes, it's a Spanish production based on apparently a best-selling Spanish novel that I know nothing about. But it is, I think 10 parts, I believe it is. It's so Sharon, you're doing your usual thing of reviewing something in another language, but we're probably going to be one of the few English language things. So I expect all the views to come rolling in on YouTube. That's a niche that Sharon has cornered. When she does something that it's another language, but we're about the only people who reviewed it in English. So ta-da! So cool. Who knows? So it's set in 1712. So picture Dangerous Liaisons, those sort of clothes, and it's almost like an upstairs downstairs type drama, where you have at the beginning. It starts off with the Duke of Castamar, Don Diego del Castamar, is he's widowed. He's got this seemingly happy marriage with his wife. She's just found out she's expecting the potential heir to this vast estates and this dukedom. And there's a tragic accident, and she is killed, and he's left bereft. And at the beginning, then a year passes, and they're trying to encourage him to take back up his position in society again. And then at this sort of time, when he's beginning to emerge from his state of mourning, this young woman, we don't know much about her at the beginning. She's basically found a position in his kitchens as just one of the member of staff in the kitchens. And one day the actual cook has an accident and can no longer work, so she steps in as she's got a gift for cooking, and then she becomes the Cook of Castamar. So it's based on this one woman, and the story unfolds whereas you find out that there's a young woman has been invited to stay with the Duke and his family, and there's sort of like plotting going on. There's this sort of sinister character called the Marquis de Soto who invites this young woman, and then he seduces her. And you think, what's going on here? Why would he introduce this sort of young woman and then seduce her and to get the Duke to marry her? And there's all sorts of plotting going on. So there's very much shades of Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah, sounds
And this sort of story as the story unfolds, you understand what this Marquez has got, what his problem is and why he's plotting all this downfall. And as each episode goes on, it is novelly in the way it's structured, in that each episode almost has like a mini episode on its own. So there's a point of drama, there's a bit of tension, then it moves on. But there's this sort of running through it is this thread of why is he sort of plotting against the Duke, but seemingly acting as his friend. And there's a sort of whole cast of characters upstairs and downstairs. There's all this group of aristocrats basically who are in the upper house, and then the lower house you've got these people who are the servants, but who interact with some of the local smugglers, and who interact with some of the local underworld, and you see how the sort of the layers of society. And one of the children of the Duke's brother is an adopted brother who once was a slave, but he has been adopted into the family, and he is the mother calls him her son, he calls him his brother, he's fully accepted as part of the family, and you find out a little bit about his backstory and how he becomes involved in this plotting to bring about the downfall of the House of Castamar. So it is quite a real sort of soap opera of a drama. So you've got tensions. There's sort of hint of romance there, but because of the classes, there's only one sort of relationship that a duke can have with his servants. It's either as an employer or as like an illicit relationship. There is no sort of honourable outcome to a duke and a cook having a relationship. And so it sort of delves into that, how can they both, maintain their own personal integrity, even though they may have feelings with each other, where can that possibly go if you're a duke? You cannot elevate a cook into the aristocracy, and a duke, what does he do? And he has feelings for someone other than someone who's suitable as the future duchess. So you see this sort of social angling, and there's a side plot with the king who's a bit mad, as most of the Spanish kings were, and how the throne potentially is threatened because there's like this sort of vein of madness running through the royal house, and the duke is sort of drawn into the sort of royal circle. So it's interesting. It's sort of, you see about society, you see about the local, with all these dramas running through it as well. So I actually really liked it.
All right, I was gonna ask you that because bearing in mind you broke out you like in a courtroom drama, you mentioned Dangerous Liaisons, and therefore it's fair play. So I'm going to mention Dangerous Liaisons because I know that there's a new version of Dangerous Liaisons that both you and Holly have recently started watching. And
I haven't seen it yet myself. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, cool. I thought you both started watching and you both kind of went, oh, can't be bothered. So I was wondering, like, had this held your attention better? So you quite liked it. How many stars did you give it?
I really rated the Cook of Castamar. I would give it a 4. I liked the fact that it was structured in a way like a book, that you have these chapters, each chapter reveals a little bit more information, so you understand the picture that is built. It builds up a picture.
Yep.
You get these sort of rise and fall, and then it sort of builds to a conclusion. So I like the way it's structured, because so many modern adaptations of novels, they like to chop about with structure. You end up getting, you start at the middle, then you get flashbacks to the beginning, and then you get a bit more information, then you get jumps ahead and jumps back. I think sometimes a well-constructed novel is like a well-constructed drama, that you don't have to use tricks. If you've written a good story, the story will flow and rise and fall. And I felt that this was just really well constructed. I didn't know any of the actors, of course, because I'm not that familiar with
Spanish,
the Spanish,
Spanish actors and stuff,
glitterati. So I didn't, but I thought it was really well done. There were sympathetic characters. You want to boo and hiss at the bad guys, and there's like a nice sort of, there's a bad guy and there's a bad woman, a wicked lady. So there's some. I thought there's some interesting. For me, I enjoyed it. I just thought it was. To me, it felt like a real, almost like old-fashioned in places, but all that, you could really get your teeth into it, and I really enjoyed it.
Good. So 4 stars for the Cook of Castamar. And now we go back to cinema. And in cinema, we will find Babylon. Another 3-hour film.
3 hour and 9 minutes, yes.
Another 3-hour film.
From a film with lots of structure to basically a film that is all over the place with no structure. But okay, so the story of this is basically it's of an era when the silent films are starting to become it's coming into the sound era, so it's like the transition. So
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, that's in it. So exactly right. So there's many references to that. So okay, so what we're going to say here is the 3 hours for me seemed like 1 hour. I did not believe. I didn't know how much time had gone. I totally love this film. Damn, it's absolutely brilliant. It's all about, I mean, I know it's had a lot of pan, but this is just about cinema. If you're a cinemaphile, you've got to love it. So all the silent films, and it's basically this girl who's based on Clara Bow, I think, and you know, some of the pictures I've seen. So called the It Girl, and she's really promiscuous and really she breaks into the movies. She breaks into the movies.
Is that the Margot Robbie character?
That's the Margot Robbie character. And then you've got the Brad Pitt character, which is based on John Gilbert, and because you know, this is a guy. So for all those things, it's pretty much all over the place. But there's some great stuff in this when they're filming. So you basically go in the desert and you've got all these little shacks with the people, you know, cutting the film, saying, "Okay, let's go." So you've got like a Western scene, and that's how the Margot Robbie character. I can't remember her name now, but so she's.
I'm just laughing. You just call her Margot Roberts.
Margot Robbie, yeah.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, Margot Robbie. So, it's just, and there's references to loads. Like there's a Fatty Arbuckle scene. So it starts off basically. There's a bit of a prologue, and then you've got the big party where you can understand why it's 18 because there's nudity and there's all sorts of weird things going on.
Yeah, 1920s Hollywood.
And then
for kids.
And then someone comes in and goes, "Oh, you know, we've had a bit of an incident here," and it's obviously Fatty Arbuckle because they go in and this girl's and the guy's like huge, and he goes, "What have you done, you big whale?" You know what I mean? It's like, so that's obviously the director must know all these silent films, you know. And there's a character called Lady Zhu, which is based on Anime Wong, which is the other one, which is a Chinese character who's like basically. Was like a lesbian and sort of quite fancies Mark. Anyway, so forget all that. Those are the characters, and there's loads and loads. She was Lady Farzu, brilliant costumes, everything. So anyway, they're shooting these films, and there's all these like little shacks in the desert of, and they're going, "Yeah, okay, come on, we need." And there's the one bit with John Gilbert, this one, which I'm sure is a film which I can't remember, but there's loads of extras going on in the background, and he's a bit drunk and all that, and he goes like, "Okay, action," and he's really drunk, and he just like sobers up, and it's a scene where he's doing a kiss, and there's all this extra stuff going about, and then they come up, they're rushing up and saying, "Oh no, we've had an accident," and there's like extras that have been speared and stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like they're all looking around, right? Okay, drag him out, and
Hollywood before health and safety.
Hollywood before health and safety, yeah. And there's like a big scene which I've seen, which I think might be Alexander Nevsky or something like that. It looked like but it's just like you got all these two groups of charging like knights and stuff all crashing into each other. Really, really spectacular stuff. And then it goes into, you know, the sound comes along, and they're trying to transition into sound. Well, the bit they've got like sound booths. You know, you probably know this, being an engineer that you are, and it's like you've got the sound engineer, and so the Margot Robbie character, somebody comes in and she's like. He comes out, "No, you've got to get your mark. You've got to get your mark. You've got to get your mark," like that. So, and there's a bloke, the poor projectionist. He's in another box. It's really hot. He goes, "It's really hot in here. I need to get out." So he goes, "Go get in." And he goes, "Why can't you get your mark?" And she gets really, really sort of fed up as well. So it's just in the end, and so, but the female director in the film, who's directing the stuff, is the director's wife. Apparently, she plays because. It was quite good. She had the old jodhpurs on, you know, like the costumes.
Yeah. Jodhpurs.
I'm all over the place.
Big
like
massive megaphone.
Yeah. And then the guy says, the Manny character, the guy who wants to get involved, he says, because they're trying to get the scene, he says, "What you want? You want the trumpeter." So they got like the jazz trumpeters and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you want to film. That's what you're going to film. So they end up.
It's a Damien Chazelle film. There's going to be jazz. Jazz is going to come in there somehow.
Yeah. But there's a thing when they're thinking it, when the executives come in and they say, "Oh, the jazz trumpeter, you probably know the actor, don't you? Let's see, I mean, might need my eyes or whatever." But anyway, and he goes, you're not black enough. You're going to have to black up because we can't show this in the South because of mixed race things." And he's like, let's see if we can find who he is. And so they give him this, whatever it is, the makeup to make him blacker than it's just like, you know, so yeah, and he's not too happy about that, which you can understand, but he wants to be famous, so he wants to make money. But
yes,
a bit like
Joe Van Adekbo, I know the actor, yeah.
So that was quite profound. You know, he goes, "Oh, you know, you're gonna have to," and he's like looking around and saying, "Do you know what I mean? There's no point, you know." No point. Oh well, we can't because they think it's mixed race and we can't show it in the South. And anyway, so that's a little sideline. What else to be put here?
So yeah, all I can say is that you started off by saying this is a film that's all over the place, and Shaun, in your review,
it's all over the place.
You are conveying that perfectly.
I mean, it was right up my street. You know, this was the sort of film that was like totally. I was totally immersed in this, especially when it came to like the cinema bits. You know, you've got to hit your mark. And the end bit towards the end bit is. That's why we go to cinema. But anyway, to cut. There's another bit where John Gilbert, he's made a sound film, you know, and he happens to go into the cinema to see the sound film being made, and everybody like starts laughing and stuff, you know. Yeah. So it's like.
Because it is. I think it's one of those things that I think we probably know this because we are sad cinema fans and all that kind of stuff. But when Hollywood invented sound, or when sound recording was figured out how to get that into films, it ruined a lot of careers because all of a sudden people who were like heartthrobs, people were like, "Oh yeah, he looks dreamy," until he opens his mouth. What the heck is that sound? and sound destroyed a lot of careers because people couldn't do what they were doing before, and people said like once you put the sound in there, it's not the same effect as the person had, or the person could do the physical acting but couldn't do the more realistic acting.
Yeah, and that was the reference with Singing in the Rain, because Singing in the Rain does come into this.
Yeah, Singing in the Rain deals with that.
Deals with that, yeah. So
up your alley, Shaun. How many stars?
Okay, well, there was a couple of bits in there which I thought were unnecessary and a bit disgusting, and didn't really. I thought, especially the prologue bit with an elephant.
Oh yeah, with the elephant. I've heard about the elephant.
I was like, why would you put that in there? And there's a couple of scenes like that which I wasn't comfortable with. So that stops it being a 5-star. So I'm going to give it a 4-star for this one. Ooh, so yeah, I liked it. Yeah. So, but those not particularly nice bits were, you know, they would knock it down from being a 5. And I know I'm probably different to everyone else because I know the film, I don't think it's been nominated at all for the Oscars. And actually, after seeing this film, I listened to the Commode review and he didn't like it, and loads of people don't like it. But I actually really, 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 really liked it. And I looked at some of the comments underneath the YouTube thing that was saying, why is he saying that? It's a great film. And so there are a lot of people, I think this is a real Marmite film.
Yeah, so,
But for me, loving cinema, it was, you know, get your mark, you got to get your mark. You know what I mean? With the sound booths and the, you know, everything, like, because no one can make any noise, and there's some guy who sniffs or something. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah. Even at my level, I've had things that have been ruined. I was actually editing a video the other day, and it's just somebody talking to the camera, and then I'm listening back to it afterwards. I'm like, what the heck is that? Oh, rubbish. Somebody was in the other room chatting about their wedding or something. It's like, you've ruined it. You've ruined my take. But it's not that serious, so I have to use it anyway. But I'm like, all right, cool. So, yeah, the Babylon maybe one for cinephiles. I mean, this is the film that I mentioned. It was a 3-hour film that I mentioned when Sharon, Holly, and I were complaining and saying that we don't want to watch Avatar. And I was like, but I do want to watch Babylon, but not Avatar. They're both 3 hours plus. I don't know why. But anyway, so now we get onto a final thing, and this is Glass Onion. Glass Onion that both Holly and I have seen. So Holly, you have been sitting down there very, very patiently saying nothing. So I will let you go on and tell us what Glass Onion is about. Give us the synopsis. Although I will apologize and say I might butt in every now and then and say something.
To your heart's content, because I'm sure my recollections will be somewhat shakier than yours. So the base premise is that this is a follow-up to Knives Out.
Yes.
Focusing around the detective in Knives Out, whose name
Benoit Blanc.
Thank you, and who is played by
Daniel Craig.
Thank you. I could just see his face, and I've my words again. This happened to me last week. I had no words, and he is rather bored, and he's got nothing to do and nothing to solve, and lockdown has,
Yeah, because the film starts off in the middle of a COVID lockdown in America.
With him drinking wine in a bath.
Yeah.
So we still have some sort of theme here. Is the beginning of films with wine drinking? If we return to the joys of persuasion, and he has time on his hands and is feeling morose, and suddenly you have a knock at the door, and something is there for him. In tandem, a number of people in all sorts of walks of life have received boxes that they realise are from their friend, and these are puzzle boxes, and they need to solve the puzzle in order to reveal his message. And they're doing this. You've got the actress friend who is renowned for saying inappropriate things. Best way to describe it. Who seems to accidentally be an anti-Semite every 15 minutes.
This is played by Kate Hudson.
Yes.
And I'll tell you how bad it is that she is played by Kate Hudson. She's called Birdie. She has an assistant called Peg, and Peg's main job seems to be taking Birdie's phone to make sure that Birdie doesn't tweet something that gets her cancelled again.
She has a very, very poor track record.
Yeah.
There is the friend who is some sort of internet star with an incredibly young girlfriend.
Yep.
A
right wing leaning internet star.
Yes. Who else are we missing?
The scientist who works for the millionaire, or the billionaire rather. Scientist who works for billionaire in a company called Alpha that does things like electric cars and space exploration and stuff like that. So there's no guessing who this not the bad guy, but who this guy is supposed to be. Who could it possibly be? He owns a company that does like cutting edge stuff and does electric cars and goes to space. So there's him, and then there's also a governor. There's a governor of a state who is also friends and receives one of these boxes as well.
Now, you get in the solving of the boxes, you have wonderful little cameos. I think Yo-Yo Ma shows up, as you do. Film, Serena Williams appears. Magic.
I think that there are some. Okay, we'll stop there with the cameos because there's some cameos that anybody who watches this film, I think, are delicious. Are delicious cameos that I think.
Many.
I love the way they did that. Yeah.
It's sublime, absolutely sublime. So they all solve their boxes and show up on a boat heading off to an island, owned by
Miles Braun.
Yes,
played by Edward Norton. It's a Greek island.
Delightful billionaire. They all get COVID swabbed and everything and are allowed to take their masks off. And Benoit is there because he's obviously also received a box. And off they head in this beautiful, and appears suddenly his, and unexpectedly to everyone else there, his former partner, with whom there had been a significant falling out.
Yes.
Nobody expected to see her there.
Played by Janelle Monáe.
Who is quite fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So they all head off to the island where they are met by their glamorous host and told that they are there for an exciting holiday to a weekend to solve his murder. And they're all given strange room connections and sent off to swan off around this very, very fancy island that is all powered by a magic fuel. I think I'm allowed to say that much because that's right at the start. He does say that immediately.
Okay.
That's so there they are on this exciting island of his where he's brought in all sorts of ridiculous things that make him happy, and he is hosting this party. I'll hand over to Tosin then for the next step because I don't want to say anything wrong again.
No. Okay, no. It's just so. All right. I mean, Sharon, you're an Agatha Christie fan, and you might have heard a lot of Agatha Christie-like things in that synopsis. A whole bunch of disparate people being invited by this one guy to an isolated island. Yes, exactly. And these are all things. I mean, I'm not sure. Did you ever watch Knives Out, the first one?
Yes, I did.
You watched Knives Out, and so Ryan Johnson, who directed it, is obviously an Agatha Christie fan. He's a murder mystery fan and all that. And so he has put, and he leans into this. He doesn't try and hide it whatsoever. That this has definite tropes of the Agatha Christie people in a place that, and he goes into that. And so Benoit Blanc obviously is kind of like in the Hercule Poirot role of okay, something's going to happen, going to try and figure it out, all that sort of stuff. But the thing about this that I really, really like what Rian Johnson does with these films is that he's a murder mystery fan. He knows most of the people watching these are murder mystery fans. He knows that he's working in the shadow of Agatha Christie. So his job is to try and figure out ways of doing something new that stays within that genre. And I think he nails it. I really, really do think he nails it. I think the characters are good. You have the characters around, and you're happy to watch the characters play off each other. You spend enough time to try and figure out, how do these people know each other? Why would these people get together? Why would this people be friends with those people and all that? Why would this work? And there's even bits about
off the top of my head, none of it is logical. It is a very Agatha Christie, almost.
Yeah.
How have these people
gone together? The fact that with Benoit Blanc, it's like, and why would you have Benoit Blanc at a murder mystery thing, and what happens in there and all that? And I love the fact that it is, the film's called Glass Onion. And it is, I hate this. I hate myself for saying this, but it's almost kind of like, metaphor that's like, because this film, as you peel back the layers, something else comes up, and then something else comes up, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. How does that work? And it does the things that you would expect. There's everybody coming to the boardroom. We're going to get into the boardroom now, and I'm going to walk around, and Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc is going to tell you exactly why this other Mocha thing works this way, and all that kind of stuff. And all that is done, and everything is done. But the film still finds things to surprise you and things to make you go, okay, that's different. And obviously the fact that there's this trend that has happened in films where I think Agatha Christie, as much as it was mystery, there was also some satire in there. And this is very satirical. Like, I think pretty much every character in this thing is satirizing something. The main character, the billionaire who invites everybody to his island, is kind of like your Elon Musk, your Mark Zuckerberg, your Jeff Bezos. He is all these people rolled into one. He's kind of like, the entitlement is in there, and like the fact that they have this running joke about the fact that every hour on this island there's this mysterious bong that comes on, and you just hear it every hour. And he says that, oh yeah, I got Philip Glass to compose that. So he got Philip Glass, the world-renowned composer, to compose a bong. And I think I love how satirical it is. I love the fact that it plays around with all these things. I think the mystery itself is actually quite a good one. The way it plays out in the end, I quite liked it. I quite like what they did, and I think and this is like a series of films that I'll be more than happy to see a third one. I want to see the third one.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the shark has been jumped by.
No, it doesn't, because it's like a totally standalone film from the first one, so you don't have to watch the first one to watch the second one. Totally standalone stories, and I really, really enjoy this. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I
agree, definitely a 4 out of 5. It's another one that I think definitely warrants a rewatch as well. I mean, as we know, I rewatch everything, but I think the things that emerge as you watch it through, you really want to go back and see if you spotted things, what you may or may not have seen or not seen. Or
that is one good thing with revisiting films, actually, once you've seen them.
I have to boast about this. That there was something that happened early on in the film, and I caught it the first time it happened.
I know what you're talking about.
I caught it. I caught it when it happened. I was watching with my wife, and I was like, "Oh, you see what he did? He just did that. He just did that. It's like he did that. And then when something else happened, I was like, I'm pretty sure that happened. And it ends up being significant in the end. And it's just sort of like a little aside that I don't think you're supposed to notice. But I noticed it. And I was like, yes, I am Benoit Blanc.
Well, it has to be there, because otherwise it doesn't make sense later on.
I know. But the fact is,
something happened that.
Yeah, but the fact is, I spotted it, and I was like, yes. Get me to a Greek island with a bunch of people, and I will solve the mystery. So that is 4 stars for Glass Onion. So Shaun, did you have a question? Look like you had a question.
No. I did earlier on, and then I was thinking when it was the island that I was thinking about. I was just sort of imagining with the bong. I was imagining like Battle Royale. I don't know why. It just sort of, with an island with the bong all the time. It was like
yeah.
So but it's probably nothing.
But the thing is, but I would say I think everybody in this film is on song. Everybody they seem to be having fun. It looked like it was a lovely holiday they had while they were making this film.
Yeah.
because and a lovely house they got to live in, because they lived in the house that they filmed in, which was like, billionaire's mansion. So it's quite good. So now all that's left to do is to figure out who won this week. Who do you think won this week? Cinema or Netflix and Friends?
Well, I think because Tar only got a 3, I think, and all the Netflix ones got a 4. I think probably Netflix pips it this week. Spur pips week.
Yep. Shaun, you are correct. Netflix wins this week. Obviously, when we only have 4 things, it's a bit easier to figure that out. Yeah. But so Netflix won because Tar, Shaun, because I wouldn't say because Tar got a 3, because Shaun gave Tar a 3. Which shows that Shaun is kind of like, Shaun is like the temperature of the nation. It's like people are giving it 1, people are giving it 5. I'll give it a 3.
Yeah,
it's like I'll give it a 3. So yeah, that is it. That is it. Thank you so much for listening to us this far. If you like what you hear, like Taiwo does, obviously, and keeps coming back on, send us some feedback. Let us know what you do. If you're watching this on YouTube and you watch one of our reviews, let us know whether you think we're wrong. And if you like it, do go on somewhere, wherever it is you heard your podcast, and give us a star review. 5 star, hopefully 5 star. Or just do the whole thing. Either don't give us a 1, don't give us a 5, give us a 3. Be nice. and it'll be lovely to hear from you. But until next week, when there will be something in cinema that probably Shaun will watch that I have no idea what it is. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Bye for me.
Goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.